The branch director's face went completely white. His hands trembled as he reached for the phone on his desk, and I watched him exchange a look with the woman beside him, the company attorney, that made my stomach drop through the floor. They had brought me into this private conference room 20 minutes ago. Now they looked like they were about to call the police. "Miss Lawson," the director said, his voice careful and controlled, "I need you to understand the seriousness of what I am about to tell you. This policy is active. The claim value is approximately $1.8 million. I could not breathe. I could not think. $1.8 million. From an insurance policy my sister had thrown in the trash 3 days ago. "But there is a problem," he continued. "Someone has been trying to steal it from you for the past 3 years. He placed a folder on the table between us, opened it, pointed to a signature line on a form that had been rejected and stamped in red ink. "Do you recognize this name? Ashley Lawson. My sister. My own sister. She had called this policy worthless garbage. She had laughed when she threw it away at our grandmother's funeral reception, tossing it into the trash like a used napkin. Turns out some garbage is worth more than our entire family ever had, and someone was willing to commit fraud to take it. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Brittany Lawson. I am 33 years old, and until that morning at the insurance company, I thought the most exciting part of my week would be convincing my landlord to finally fix the leak under my kitchen sink. I work as an administrative assistant at a regional logistics company in Cleveland, Ohio, Henderson and Cole Services. You have never heard of it. Nobody has. We process shipping invoices and pretend that matters. The job is not glamorous. The pay is modest. My car is a 10-year-old Honda Civic with a dent in the passenger door that I have been meaning to fix for 2 years. My apartment is small, clean, and quiet, with a view of a parking lot and walls thin enough to hear my neighbor's television every night. I eat lunch at my desk most days. I meal prep on Sundays. I read paperback mysteries before bed and fall asleep by 10. I live a quiet life. Some people would call it boring. I call it stable. But there is one thing about me that has always caused problems in my family. I read everything. Contracts, receipts, fine print, terms and conditions, the paragraphs of tiny text that everyone else scrolls past without a second thought. I ask questions when numbers do not add up. I keep records. I do not sign anything without understanding exactly what I am agreeing to. At work, I am the one who catches invoice errors, spots missing signatures, notices when dates do not match. My coworkers think it is useful. They call me the detail queen, and they mean it as a compliment. My family thinks it is annoying. They call me paranoid, suspicious, difficult. I call it paying attention. I did not know it then, standing in that insurance office with my world turning upside down. But this habit, this annoying, paranoid, difficult habit, was exactly why my grandmother chose me. In my family, there are 2 daughters, the golden one and the other one. I am the other one. I have always been the other one. Growing up, my sister Ashley was the performer. School plays, dance recitals, student council president, homecoming court, the works. She learned early that attention was currency, and she collected it like other kids collected stickers. Every room she walked into became her stage. Every conversation became her spotlight. I was the quiet one. Good grades, no trouble, no drama. I did my homework, kept my head down, and tried not to take up too much space. Teachers forgot my name by the end of the semester. My mother forgot my birthday twice. Not forgot, exactly. She remembered eventually. She just remembered Ashley's first. There is a specific memory that I carry with me, even now, my 16th birthday. I came home from school expecting something, anything, and found the house empty. No cake, no decorations, no card on the table. My mother had taken Ashley shopping for a dress for some school event and lost track of time. She apologized later, said she got confused with dates. But 3 months later, Ashley turned 14, and there was a catered party in our backyard with 50 guests and a custom dress and a photographer. My mother never confused Ashley's dates. I learned something important that year. I learned that some people are seen and some people are invisible. And I learned which one I was. I was not angry about it anymore. Not really. I had made peace with being the background daughter, the one who showed up and did the right thing, and never asked for anything because asking meant being disappointed. I had built a life that did not depend on their approval. I had my apartment, my job, my routines. Or so I thought. The thing about being invisible is that you learn to watch. You see things that people who are being watched never notice. You catch the glances, the whispers, the tiny betrayals that happen in plain sight because no one thinks you are paying attention. I saw how Ashley looked at our grandmother when she thought no one was watching, calculating, measuring, like she was trying to figure out what she could get. And I saw how our grandmother looked back, sharp eyes that missed nothing. Waiting. My grandmother was Margaret Lawson. She was 82 years old when she died, and she was the only person in my family who ever made me feel like I existed. She was a widow, had been for decades. My grandfather Franklin passed away before I was born, so I never knew him except through photographs and the stories Margaret told. She lived alone in a small Cape Cod house in Lakewood, a suburb just west of Cleveland, with a garden she maintained herself until her hip gave out last year. Margaret was a retired bookkeeper. She had worked for a manufacturing company for 35 years, tracking numbers, balancing ledgers, finding discrepancies that other people missed. Numbers were her language. She used to say she could smell a math error from across the room. Everyone assumed she had nothing, just an old woman living on Social Security and whatever savings she had scraped together. She dressed simply. She drove the same car for 15 years. She clipped coupons from the Sunday paper and brought her own bags to the grocery store. She never asked anyone for money. She never complained about being broke. She paid her bills on time every time, and if you asked her how she was doing, she would smile and say she was doing just fine. Looking back, I should have wondered how. I visited her once a month, sometimes more. Not because anyone asked me to or expected me to, but because I wanted to. We would sit in her small kitchen with cups of tea between us, and she would ask me about my life. Not my job, not my plans, not whether I was seeing anyone. My life. How I was feeling, what I was thinking, what made me happy. She never compared me to Ashley. She never asked why I was not married or promoted or more successful. She just listened. And when I talked, she looked at me like what I was saying actually mattered. Over the past year, she had started saying things that seemed strange at the time. Small comments that I did not know how to interpret. She would look at me with those sharp eyes and say things like, "You are the careful one, Brittany. That is rare." Or, "Most people believe what they want to believe. You believe what you can prove." I thought it was just grandmother wisdom, the kind of thing old people say when they are feeling philosophical. Then, 2 months before she died, she said something I could not forget. I was visiting her at the house, sitting in her kitchen like always, and she reached across the table and took my hand. Her grip was surprisingly strong for a woman her age. Her eyes locked onto mine and she said, "When I am gone, they will tell you I left nothing. Don't believe them." I asked her what she meant. She just smiled, that knowing smile that always made me feel like she could see right through me. "Promise me you will come when they call you, and promise me you will not believe everything they tell you." I promised. I did not understand why, but I promised. The phone call came on a Tuesday night. I was in my apartment making dinner, nothing special, just pasta with jarred sauce and whatever vegetables were about to go bad in my refrigerator. The television was on in the background, some reality show I was not really watching, and my phone buzzed on the counter. My mother's number. I almost did not answer. Calls from Karen were rarely good news. They were usually complaints about something I had done wrong or requests for favors that somehow never got returned, or updates about Ashley's latest achievement that I was supposed to be impressed by. But something made me pick up. Her voice was flat, businesslike, the way she sounds when she is handling something unpleasant and wants to get it over with as quickly as possible. "Your grandmother passed away this morning. The funeral is Thursday at 2. Greenwood Chapel. Do not be late. Click. The call ended. No, I am sorry. No, are you okay? No, I know you loved her. Just logistics. Scheduling. Do not be late. That was my mother's way of handling death. Handle it like an appointment. Move on. I stood in my kitchen with the phone still in my hand, and the pasta water boiling over on the stove. I did not notice until the hissing sound broke through the fog in my head. I turned off the burner, sat down at my small kitchen table. Let myself feel it. My grandmother was gone. The only person in my family who made me feel seen. The only person who asked how I was doing and actually wanted to hear the answer. She was gone, and I was alone. That night, I could not sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about the last time I saw her, thinking about the things she said that I did not understand. When I am gone, they will tell you I left nothing. Don't believe them. What did that mean? What was she trying to tell me? Around 11, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Ashley. Mom says you might have some of Grandma's old papers. If you find anything, let me know. I am handling the estate stuff. I frowned at the screen. I did not have any of Grandmother's papers. Why would Ashley think I did? Before I could respond, another text came through. 1 minute later, actually, don't worry about the papers. I am sure there is nothing important. Grandma didn't really have anything anyway. The quick correction, the reassurance that came too fast. The sudden need to make sure I was not looking for anything. I knew my sister. I knew how she operated. She did not send midnight texts unless something was bothering her. She did not mention papers unless papers mattered. I did not respond. I just lay there in the dark, turning those messages over in my mind. My sister was already managing the narrative. Before the body was even cold. I should have known then. The way Ashley texted me at midnight, the way she mentioned papers and then immediately dismissed them, the way her reassurance felt more like a warning than a comfort. But I did not know yet what was hidden. I did not know what my grandmother had left behind. I did not know about the insurance policy, the fraud, the 5 years of documentation, the trail that would lead me here, to an insurance office where a director was calling his legal department because my sister had tried to steal nearly $2 million. I only knew one thing that night, lying awake in my apartment with my sister's texts glowing on my phone. Ashley was nervous, and Ashley Lawson was never nervous unless she had something to hide. Greenwood Chapel sat on a quiet street in the suburbs of Cleveland, a mid-sized funeral home with beige siding and a parking lot that could hold maybe 50 cars. I arrived at 1:45, 15 minutes early, because my mother had made it very clear that I should not be late. The sky was overcast, threatening rain that never came, and the air had that heavy stillness that makes everything feel like it is waiting for something to happen. I parked my Honda at the far end of the lot and sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, trying to steady myself. I was wearing my only black dress, something I had bought for a work conference 3 years ago. It still fit. I had not gained or lost weight in years. My life was that consistent, that predictable. The only jewelry I wore was a small silver necklace my grandmother had given me for my 21st birthday. A delicate chain with a tiny pendant in the shape of a book. She said she gave it to me because I was always reading, always paying attention. I touched it now, feeling the cool metal against my collarbone, and wished I could feel her hand on mine one more time. I walked toward the entrance and noticed something strange. No one was crying outside, no one was hugging. People stood in small clusters near the door, checking their phones, glancing at their watches, talking in low voices about things that had nothing to do with grief. It felt less like a funeral and more like a mandatory company meeting. Everyone was there because they had to be, not because they wanted to be. My mother stood at the entrance, greeting people with a practiced smile that did not reach her eyes. She was dressed impeccably, black suit, pearl earrings, hair freshly done at the salon. She looked like she was hosting a charity fundraiser, not burying her mother-in-law. When I approached, Her smile did not change. Not warmer, not colder. Just the same professional expression she gave everyone else. "You are here. Good. Sit toward the back. Ashley needs the front row for family. No hug. No acknowledgement that we were both grieving the same woman. Just instructions, delivered like I was a guest who needed to be managed." I walked inside without responding. There was nothing to say. The chapel was modest but clean. Wooden pews, soft lighting, generic flower arrangements in shades of white and pale pink. At the front of the room, a photograph of my grandmother sat on an easel beside the closed casket. It was a formal portrait from years ago, the kind they take at department stores. She looked stiff in it, uncomfortable. It was not how I remembered her at all. The casket was closed. My mother's decision. More dignified, she had said when someone asked. I had wanted to see my grandmother one last time, to say goodbye to her face instead of a wooden box. I was not asked. I found a seat in the back row, alone, and watched the room fill up. Distant relatives I saw once a year at holidays, neighbors from my grandmother's street, a few people I did not recognize at all. Everyone moved quietly, speaking in hushed voices, waiting for the service to begin. 10 minutes before 2, the side door opened, and Ashley made her entrance. She was wearing a black designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her makeup was subtle but perfect, applied in a way that made her look tragic and beautiful at the same time. She walked slowly, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, every movement calibrated for maximum impact. Every head turned, every eye followed her to the front row. My sister did not walk into rooms, she made entrances. Ashley hugged our mother tightly, a long embrace that lasted exactly long enough for everyone to see how close they were. She whispered something that made Karen nod with visible emotion. Then she turned to greet the other relatives, each interaction perfectly measured. A hug for Uncle Robert that lasted 3 seconds. A gentle hand on Aunt Patricia's shoulder with a sad smile. A brave nod to the neighbors who offered their condolences. She knew exactly how long to hold each embrace. Exactly when to let the tears fall. Exactly how to make everyone in that room believe she was devastated by this loss. I watched from the back row and thought about the last time Ashley had actually visited our grandmother. 6 months ago. She had stayed for 20 minutes, complained about the drive, and left without finishing her tea. My grandmother had mentioned it to me afterward. "Your sister was in a hurry," she said. "She always is." Now here Ashley was, performing grief like she had rehearsed it for weeks, and everyone was buying it. During one of her tearful embraces, Ashley's eyes drifted to the back of the room. They found mine for half a second. The tears were still there, glistening perfectly, but behind them I saw something else. Something cold, calculating, watching. Then she looked away and continued her performance. That look lasted less than a second. But I felt it. She was keeping track of me, even while she played the grieving granddaughter. And I did not know why. The service began at 2 o'clock exactly. A pastor I had never seen before took the podium, opened a folder of notes, and began speaking about a woman he clearly did not know. He called her a woman of faith, a devoted member of her family, someone who lived a simple life and asked for nothing. He did not mention that she had worked as a bookkeeper for 35 years. He did not mention that she could add columns of numbers in her head faster than most people could use a calculator. He did not mention that she played chess, that she loved mystery novels, that she made the best lemon cookies I had ever tasted. He just read from his notes, filling the air with words that could have been about anyone. When my mother took the podium, I hoped for something more personal, something real. But Karen spoke for exactly 4 minutes, thanking everyone for coming, mentioning Margaret's quiet dedication and modest expectations. She never wanted much, my mother said. She lived simply and asked for nothing. I sat in the back row and thought, that was not modesty, that was strategy. But no one in this room knew the difference. Ashley did not give a speech. She did not need to. She sat in the front row, visible to everyone, crying at all the right moments. She held our mother's hand when Karen returned from the podium. She was the image of a supportive, grieving granddaughter, without ever saying a word. No one asked me to speak. No one looked at me for a reaction. I had visited my grandmother more than anyone in that room. I had listened to her stories, held her hand, brought her groceries when her hip was bad. But in this room, I did not exist. The service ended at 2:43, 43 minutes. They could not even give her a full hour. The reception was held in a fellowship hall adjacent to the chapel. Long tables covered with mediocre catering. Dry sandwiches, store-bought cookies, coffee that tasted like it had been sitting in the pot since morning. My grandmother would have hated it. She made everything from scratch. I stood near the back of the room with a paper plate of food I was not going to eat, watching the crowd mill around and waiting for permission to leave. A few distant relatives approached me with brief condolences and awkward small talk. "Sorry for your loss. She was a good woman. Are you still working at that company?" No one really wanted to know. They were just filling silence. I was about to make my escape when I noticed something across the room. Ashley and my mother, huddled together near the coffee station, speaking in voices too low for anyone else to hear. Their heads were close together, their expressions serious. I moved toward them without thinking, staying behind a large floral arrangement so they would not see me. I stopped when I was close enough to hear. Ashley's voice, low and urgent. "Did you check if she left anything else? Any other documents?" Karen's response, calm and reassuring. "I went through the house yesterday. There is nothing we missed." Ashley again. "What about the lawyer? Did he say anything?" Karen. "He said everything is handled. The will is simple. House goes to me as next of kin. Everything else is negligible." A pause. Then Ashley asked, "And Brittany?" Karen's voice turned dismissive. "What about her?" Margaret did not have anything to leave anyone. Another pause. Then Ashley, quieter. "Good. Let's keep it that way." They moved apart, returning to their separate performances, and I stood behind the flowers with my heart beating faster than it should have been. They were not grieving. They were securing. I did not understand yet what they were looking for. I did not know about the insurance policy, the fraud, the years of attempted theft. But I knew that something was wrong. The urgency in Ashley's voice, the careful way Karen reassured her, the relief when they agreed that everything was handled. They were protecting something, or hiding something, and they did not want me anywhere near it. I was still processing what I had heard when an older man approached me. Late 60s, silver hair, wearing a suit that was expensive but not flashy. He moved with purpose, his eyes scanning the room before settling on me. "Miss Lawson? Brittany Lawson?" I nodded, unsure who he was. He stepped closer, positioning himself so his back was to the room, so no one could see our conversation. "I am Harold Brennan," he said quietly. "I was your grandmother's attorney for the past 12 years. My grandmother had an attorney? I did not know she had an attorney. Most people did not, he said. She preferred it that way. He glanced over his shoulder, checking that Ashley and Karen were not watching, then reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. Old, yellowed, the edges worn soft with age. "Your grandmother gave me very specific instructions. I was to wait until the funeral, find you personally, and give you this." He pressed the envelope into my hands. "She was very clear that it should go only to you, no one else." I looked down at the envelope, feeling its weight. Something was inside, folded papers, documents of some kind. "She said you would know what to do with it," Harold continued. His voice was barely above a whisper now. "And she told me to remind you of something. Papers do not lie. People do." Before I could ask any questions, he straightened up and stepped back. "Your grandmother trusted you, Miss Lawson. Do not let her down." Then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd like he had never been there at all. I stood alone, holding the envelope, my mind racing. What was this? Why me? Why the secrecy? I started to open it, curiosity overwhelming caution, when a hand shot out and snatched it from my grip. Ashley. She had crossed the room without me noticing, moving with that predatory focus I had seen glimpses of my whole life. Her eyes were locked on the envelope, scanning it, evaluating it. What is this? Her voice was too casual, too controlled. Before I could answer, she pulled out the contents. Old papers, yellowed with age. She flipped through them quickly, her expression shifting from suspicion to something that looked almost like relief. An old insurance policy? She laughed, but it was not a real laugh. Grandma kept so much junk. She probably forgot she even had this. She looked at me with something that was supposed to be pity but felt more like dismissal. These things expire, you know. It is worthless. Harold Brennan gave it to me, I said. He said Grandma wanted me to have it specifically. Ashley's eyes flickered at the mention of Harold's name. Just for a moment. Then she recovered. Harold who? Some random lawyer? Grandma did not have a lawyer. She was barely getting by on Social Security. There is no money here, Brittany. Trust me. She turned and walked to the nearest trash can. Without hesitation, she dropped the envelope and its contents inside. Do not waste your time on expired papers. She kept them for sentimental reasons. Old people do that. They hold on to things that do not matter anymore. She looked at me with that pitying smile again, but underneath it, I saw something else. Relief. Like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. My mother appeared beside her, drawn by some invisible signal. What was that about? Ashley shrugged. Nothing, just some old papers Brittany found. I threw them out. Karen nodded approvingly, then turned to me with tired impatience. Ashley is right. Do not make a scene over nothing. Your grandmother did not have anything valuable. The sooner you accept that, the better. She put a hand on Ashley's shoulder. Now come help with the cleanup. People are starting to leave. They walked away together, mother and favored daughter, leaving me standing alone by the trash can. I looked down at the crumpled envelope sitting on top of paper plates and used napkins. The insurance policy my grandmother had hidden. The document she had given to a lawyer with specific instructions to give only to me. Ashley had thrown it away like it was garbage. Karen had approved without a second thought. They were so certain it meant nothing. But I could not stop thinking about Harold Brennan's face when he handed me that envelope, the way he positioned himself so no one could see. The urgency in his voice. And I could not stop thinking about Ashley's reaction. Not dismissive, not bored, fast, decisive, almost panicked. People do not react that fast to things that do not matter. Whatever was in that trash can, my sister did not want me to have it. She wanted it gone, destroyed, forgotten. And that made it the most valuable thing in the room. I could not sleep. I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling, watching shadows move across the plaster as cars passed on the street below. The clock on my nightstand glowed 11:14, then 11:32, then 12:07. My body was exhausted, but my mind would not stop spinning. I kept replaying the funeral. Ashley's hand shooting out to grab the envelope. The sound of paper hitting the bottom of the trash can. My mother's dismissive voice telling me not to make a scene over nothing. But it was not nothing. I saw Ashley's face when she looked at that policy. I knew what her dismissal looked like. I had been on the receiving end of it my entire life. This was different. This was elimination. She did not throw that policy away because it was worthless. She threw it away because she needed it to disappear. The speed of it, the decisiveness. No hesitation, no second thought, just a straight line from her hand to the trash. People do not react that fast to things that do not matter. They shrug, they set it aside, they forget about it. Ashley did not forget. Ashley eliminated. And I could not stop thinking about Harold Brennan, the way he found me specifically, the way he positioned himself so no one could see our conversation, the careful, deliberate way he handed me that envelope and told me my grandmother wanted only me to have it. Papers do not lie, he said. People do, my grandmother's words. Coming back to me now through a stranger's voice. I closed my eyes and suddenly I was somewhere else. 2 months earlier, a Saturday afternoon, driving the familiar route to Lakewood. The trees were just starting to change color, hints of gold and red appearing among the green. I had made this drive dozens of times, but that day felt different somehow. Heavier. My grandmother's house was a small Cape Cod with white siding and blue shutters. She had a garden in the front that she maintained herself until last year when her hip started giving her trouble. Now it was slightly overgrown, dandelions pushing up through the flower beds, grass creeping onto the walkway. I always offered to help with the weeding. She always refused. "I am not dead yet," she would say. "I can still pull a dandelion." That day, I let myself in with the spare key she kept under the third porch step. The house smelled like it always did, lemon furniture polish and the faint ghost of pipe tobacco from decades ago. My grandfather had smoked a pipe. The scent never fully left the walls. She was in the kitchen, sitting at the small table by the window, tea already made. 2 cups. She always knew when I was coming. "You are right on time," she said. "Sit down. I made those lemon cookies you like." She looked thinner than the last time I visited, moving slower. But her eyes were the same, sharp, alert, missing nothing. We talked for a while about small things, my job, the weather, a book she was reading. Then she reached across the table and took my hand. Her grip was stronger than I expected. "Your sister has been coming around more lately," she said. I was surprised. Ashley barely visited. Maybe twice a year, and only when she needed something. "She has been helping me with paperwork," my grandmother continued, very eager to help. There was something in her voice. An edge, almost sarcastic. She thinks I do not notice things anymore, that I am too old to pay attention. She paused, those sharp eyes locked onto mine. "I notice everything, Brittany. I did not know what to say." I waited. I have watched this family for 82 years. I know who is real and who is performing. Your sister performs. She always has. Even as a little girl, she knew how to make people see what she wanted them to see. She squeezed my hand tighter. "But you are different. You look for what is true. That is why I need you to remember something." I leaned closer, hanging on every word. "When I am gone, they will tell you I left nothing, that everything is handled. Do not believe them." "Grandma, what do you mean?" She smiled, that knowing smile that always made me feel like she could see right through me. "Papers do not lie, Brittany. People do. Whatever they give you, whatever they tell you to throw away, look at it first. Really look." I asked her to explain. She just patted my hand. "You will understand when it matters." I opened my eyes. The ceiling of my apartment was still there, the same shadows, the same silence. But my grandmother's voice was echoing in my head like she was sitting right beside me. "Papers do not lie. People do. Whatever they tell you to throw away, look at it first." Ashley had told me to throw it away. Ashley had thrown it away herself, right in front of me, without even reading it properly. The clock read 3:47 in the morning. I had not slept at all. Part of me said I was being paranoid. Ashley was right. Old people keep worthless papers. Insurance policies expire. It was probably nothing. But another part of me remembered Harold Brennan's face, the urgency in his voice, the way he looked over his shoulder to make sure no one was watching. My grandmother had kept that policy for a reason. She had hidden it with a lawyer for 12 years and given specific instructions for it to come to me. Only me. If it was worthless, why all the secrecy? Why the specific instructions? Why did Ashley need it gone so fast? I threw off the covers and got out of bed. I got dressed in the dark, jeans, old sweater, comfortable shoes. I grabbed my car keys from the hook by the door and checked the time. 4:12 in the morning. The funeral home would be empty. The trash would not have been collected yet. If I was going to do this, it had to be now. The drive to Greenwood Chapel took 20 minutes. The streets were nearly empty, just the occasional delivery truck or early morning commuter. Cleveland in the pre-dawn gray, streetlights still on, everything quiet and waiting. My Honda made that familiar rattle on the highway, the one I kept meaning to get checked. I drove with the radio off. I needed to think. I arrived at the funeral home just as the first light was breaking over the horizon. The parking lot was empty except for one car near the back entrance, probably night security or a custodian. I parked at the far end, near the service entrance I remembered from the reception. Sat in the car for a moment, heart pounding, questioning every decision that had led me here. This was either the smartest thing I had ever done, or the most ridiculous. Only one way to find out. I got out of the car and walked quickly toward the side of the building. The service entrance was near the kitchen. I remembered seeing staff come in and out during the reception, carrying trays and trash bags. There was a large dumpster against the wall. Green metal, lid closed but not locked. No one around, no one watching. I stood there for a moment, looking at that dumpster, thinking about what I was about to do. Here I was, 33 years old, college degree, steady job, about to climb into a dumpster at 4:30 in the morning like some kind of raccoon in business casual. My grandmother would have been proud, or horrified, possibly both. I hoisted myself up, swung one leg over the edge, and dropped inside. The smell hit me immediately. Stale food, coffee grounds, wilted flowers from the arrangements. Not as bad as I expected, but not pleasant either. The bags from the reception were right on top, black plastic bulging with the remains of a funeral no one really cared about. I tore open the first bag. Napkins, paper plates, half-eaten sandwiches, nothing. Second bag, more of the same. Crushed coffee cups, plastic forks, crumpled programs with my grandmother's face on the cover. Third bag. There. The yellow envelope, crumpled but intact. The insurance policy still inside, pages bent but readable. I pulled it out and held it against my chest like it was something precious. For a moment I just stood there in that dumpster, surrounded by garbage, holding my grandmother's last gift. It smelled like old coffee and regret. But it was mine. I climbed out, brushed myself off, tucked the envelope inside my jacket, and walked back to my car without looking back. By the time I got home, the sun was up. 5:45 in the morning, golden light streaming through my kitchen window. I spread the policy out on the table and finally looked at it properly. Midwest Mutual Life Insurance Company. Policy number 7749 ML 1989. Original issue date 35 years ago. Policyholder Margaret Eleanor Lawson. This policy was older than me. I flipped through the pages carefully. The original policy, several pages of formal language and small print. Multiple amendment pages attached, changes made over the years, beneficiary designation forms, updated periodically, premium payment records showing continuous payments, month after month, year after year. My grandmother had paid into this policy for 35 years, never missed a payment. I turned to the most recent beneficiary designation, dated 14 months ago. Sole beneficiary, Brittany Ann Lawson. I stared at my own name. Read it again, read it a third time, sole beneficiary. Not Ashley, not Karen, not split between us, just me. But something was wrong. Some of the pages looked different. Newer paper mixed with old. One beneficiary form had a signature that did not look right. My grandmother's handwriting was distinctive. Small, precise, slightly slanted to the left. I had seen it my whole life on birthday cards, grocery lists, notes left on the kitchen counter. This signature was similar but not quite right. Too large, wrong angle. The letters did not flow the way hers did. I kept flipping through the pages, found another form dated 2 years ago. This one listed the beneficiary as Ashley Marie Lawson, but it was marked in red ink, rejected. Signature verification failed. Original policyholder verification required. Someone had tried to change the beneficiary to Ashley, and the insurance company had rejected it. I sat back in my chair, mind racing. This policy was not worthless. It was contested. Someone had been trying to steal it, and my grandmother had stopped them. I looked at the policy value line, but the old format made it hard to read. I needed to take this to the insurance company. I needed to know exactly what I was looking at. My phone buzzed on the table. I had forgotten it existed. Text from Ashley. 6:17 in the morning. Mom said you were asking about Grandma's papers at the funeral. I told you there is nothing there. Just let it go. Some things are better left alone. 6 in the morning. Ashley never woke up before 9. She was already awake, already thinking about this, already worried. Another text came through 1 minute later. I am just looking out for you, Britt. Do not waste your time on Grandma's old junk. Trust me, okay? There is nothing worth finding. The use of Britt. Ashley's fake affectionate nickname for me. She only used it when she wanted something. I did not respond. My sister was nervous enough to text me at 6 in the morning. Nervous enough to use the nickname she thought would soften me up. Nervous enough to tell me twice that there was nothing worth finding. Which meant there was definitely something worth finding. I gathered the policy pages carefully and placed them back in the envelope. Opened my laptop and searched for Midwest Mutual Life Insurance. Company still exists. Regional carrier, headquarters in Columbus, branch office in Cleveland. Hours, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. Today was Friday. If I left now, I could be there when they opened. I showered quickly, changed into professional clothes, put the envelope in my good leather bag, checked my reflection in the mirror. I looked tired. I looked determined. I looked like a woman about to fight for something. I just did not know yet how big the fight would be. I got in my car, started the engine. One more text from Ashley. Brittany, hello? Why are you not answering? I turned my phone to silent and pulled out of the parking lot. For the first time in my life, my sister wanted my attention. She was about to get more of it than she ever wanted. The drive to Cleveland took 45 minutes in light traffic. I kept my hand steady on the wheel and my eyes on the road, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. The envelope sat on the passenger seat beside me, and I kept glancing at it like it might disappear if I looked away too long. I had barely slept. Maybe 2 hours total, broken up by dreams I could not remember, and a restless anxiety that would not let me stay still. Now I was running on coffee and adrenaline, driving toward answers I was not sure I wanted to find. The Midwest Mutual Life Insurance branch office was in a commercial district on the east side of the city. Modern building, glass and steel, corporate landscaping with trimmed hedges and decorative stones. The kind of place that wanted you to feel like your money was safe. I parked in the visitor lot at 8:23, 7 minutes before they opened. Sat in my car and watched employees trickle in through the front entrance, coffee cups in hand, badges clipped to their belts. I told myself not to expect anything. Even if the policy was valid, it was probably worth a few $1,000s. Maybe enough to cover funeral costs. Maybe enough for a modest savings. I was not doing this for money. I was doing this for truth. My grandmother wanted me to find something. She had hidden this policy, protected it, left specific instructions for it to come to me. I owed her at least the effort of looking. At 8:31, I got out of the car, grabbed my bag with the envelope inside, and walked toward the entrance. Whatever happened next, there was no going back. The lobby was corporate clean in that way insurance companies always are. Marble floors polished to a shine, potted plants that might have been real or might have been very convincing fakes, soft music playing from hidden speakers, something instrumental and forgettable. The reception desk was staffed by a young woman with a professional smile and a nameplate that read, Jennifer. A few other customers sat in chairs along the wall, filling out forms or waiting for appointments. Everything looked normal. Everything felt routine. Good morning, Jennifer said as I approached. How can I help you today? I pulled the envelope from my bag. I would like to inquire about a life insurance policy. My grandmother passed away recently, and I am listed as the beneficiary. I would like to verify the policy status. Jennifer's smile stayed in place, professional sympathy layered on top. I am so sorry for your loss. Is this regarding a new claim or an existing policy? Existing. From a long time ago. She took the envelope and examined the contents, noting the age of the paper with a raised eyebrow. This is quite an old policy. Let me pull it up in our system. She turned to her computer and typed in the policy number. I watched her face, looking for any reaction, any sign that something was unusual. At first, nothing, just routine keystrokes. The click of her mouse, the hum of the computer processing. Then her fingers stopped moving. Her smile faded, just slightly. She leaned closer to her screen, scrolled down, scrolled back up. Her eyebrows drew together. "That is strange," she murmured, more to herself than to me. "Is something wrong?" She looked up, her expression carefully neutral now. The warmth was gone. "Could you excuse me for just one moment? I need to speak with someone." She did not wait for me to answer. She stood up quickly and walked toward a back hallway, disappearing through a door marked "Employees Only." I stood at the reception desk alone, my heart beating faster than it should have been. The other customers kept filling out their forms. No one noticed anything unusual. But I noticed. Something had changed. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Jennifer did not return. Another receptionist came out and helped the other customers, but she avoided eye contact with me. I stood there trying to look calm, feeling anything but. Finally, a door opened down the hallway. A woman emerged and walked toward me with purpose. Mid-40s, tailored blazer, reading glasses pushed up on her head. She moved with authority, heels clicking on the marble floor. Her name badge read, "Claire Donovan, Senior Claims Specialist." "Miss Lawson?" She extended her hand. "I am Claire Donovan. I handle complex claims for our branch." Her handshake was firm, professional, but her eyes were studying me carefully, assessing something I could not identify. "Would you mind coming with me? I would like to discuss your grandmother's policy in private. Is there a problem with the policy?" She paused for just a fraction too long. "There are some details we need to review. It would be better to discuss them somewhere more comfortable." I followed her down the hallway, past cubicles where people pretended not to stare. She led me to a small conference room with glass walls, blinds already drawn for privacy. A table with 4 chairs, a pitcher of water, notepads arranged precisely. "Please, have a seat." "Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee?" I sat down across from her. "I would like to know what is going on." Claire settled into her chair and folded her hands on the table. Her expression was serious but not hostile. "Miss Lawson, I need to verify some information first. This is standard procedure for claims of this nature." "What nature?" She did not answer directly. Instead, she opened a folder she had brought with her. "May I see your driver's license?" I handed it over. She compared it to something in her folder, checking details I could not see. "Your full legal name is Brittany Ann Lawson?" "Yes." "Date of birth? March 15th, 1992. Social Security number?" I hesitated for a moment, then provided it. She checked it against her records. "And Margaret Eleanor Lawson was your grandmother, your father's mother?" "Yes." "My father was David Lawson. He passed away 8 years ago." Claire made a note. "I am sorry. That matches our records." "Your records? You have records about my father?" "We have records about everything, Miss Lawson. That is what insurance companies do." She examined the original policy I had brought, holding certain pages up to the light, comparing signatures to something in her folder. She took photos of several pages with her phone. "This appears to be the original policy document. It matches what we have on file." "Then everything is in order? The policy is valid?" Claire set down the papers, removed her reading glasses, looked at me with an expression that was hard to read, not hostile but serious. Concerned, maybe. "Miss Lawson, this policy is very much valid. But before I tell you more, I need to make a phone call." She excused herself and stepped into the hallway. Through the glass, I could see her talking on her cell phone, expression serious, gesturing with one hand. The call lasted several minutes. I sat alone in that conference room, surrounded by corporate neutrality, and tried to slow my breathing. Whatever was in that policy, it was bigger than expired paperwork. Claire returned and closed the door firmly behind her. "Miss Lawson, I have just spoken with our legal department. They are sending someone over. But I want to explain a few things first. Legal department? Why do you need lawyers? Because this policy is complicated. She opened a different folder and turned it so I could see the contents. A printed statement with numbers and dates and columns I did not understand. Your grandmother purchased this whole life insurance policy 35 years ago. She paid premiums consistently every month until her death. Claire pointed to a line near the bottom of the page. Whole life policies accumulate cash value over time. The longer they are held, the more they are worth. Your grandmother held this policy for 35 years. She never borrowed against it, never withdrew from it, just kept paying month after month for 3.5 decades. My eyes found the number on the page, a number with a lot of digits. My brain did not process it at first. It could not be right. Claire said it out loud. The current claim value of this policy is approximately $1.8 million. Silence. I am sorry. Did you say $1.8 million, plus potential dividends and interest pending final calculation? That is not possible. My grandmother lived in a small house. She clipped coupons. She drove the same car for 15 years. Claire almost smiled. Miss Lawson, your grandmother was a bookkeeper for 35 years. She understood compound interest better than most financial advisors. She knew exactly what she was doing. I stared at the number, could not breathe, could not think. My grandmother, who everyone thought had nothing, had quietly built a fortune, and she left it all to me. Before I could process this, Claire's expression shifted. Sympathy mixed with something else. Concern. Miss Lawson, there is something else you need to know. I looked up, still reeling from the first revelation. This policy should be straightforward. Policyholder deceased, beneficiary verified, claim approved. But it is not straightforward, because someone has been trying to interfere with it. She pulled out another folder, thicker than the others. Over the past 3 years, our company has received multiple requests to modify the beneficiary designation on this policy. 7 requests in total. All of them were rejected. Why were they rejected? Your grandmother placed a legal lock on this policy 14 months ago. After that, no changes could be made without her physical presence and notarized consent. Claire's voice dropped slightly. Someone kept trying anyway, submitting forms with signatures that did not match our records. We flagged it as potential fraud, but since no claim had been filed, we were waiting for this moment. She turned the folder toward me. These are the rejected modification requests. I think you should see the name on them. I looked at the top form. My eyes found the signature line at the bottom. The name written there. In handwriting I would recognize anywhere. Ashley Marie Lawson. My sister's signature. My sister's handwriting. I flipped through the forms. 7 attempts over 3 years. Each one trying to change the beneficiary from me to Ashley. Each one rejected for signature verification failure. One form had a second signature as a witness. Karen Lawson. My mother had witnessed at least one of these attempts. She had stood next to Ashley and signed her name to a form designed to steal my inheritance. Miss Lawson, I have to ask. Claire's voice was gentle but direct. Do you know Ashley Lawson? I looked up from the forms, my voice flat. She is my sister. Claire nodded slowly, as if this confirmed something she had already suspected. Then you should know that what she attempted constitutes insurance fraud. It is a felony. Multiple felonies, actually. The forged signatures, the falsified attempts. Our legal department will be filing a report with the authorities. There was a knock at the door. Claire stood. That will be our branch director and legal counsel. The door opened. 2 people entered. A man in a gray suit, tall, grave expression. His name badge identified him as Thomas Richardson, branch director. Beside him, a woman in a sharp navy suit, company attorney, Miss Lawson. Richardson shook my hand. I oversee this branch. I understand Claire has explained the situation regarding your grandmother's policy. He sat down across from me, his expression serious. I want to assure you that Midwest Mutual takes fraud very seriously. We will be cooperating fully with law enforcement on this matter. He paused, seeming to gather himself. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman. She anticipated this. I looked up, confused. What do you mean? 14 months ago, she came to this office personally. She sat in this very room. She told us that when she died, someone would try to steal her policy. Richardson leaned forward. She gave us specific instructions. She named you specifically as the only person authorized to receive information or file a claim. No one else. Under any circumstances. His eyes met mine. She said you were the only one she trusted. I sat in that conference room, surrounded by lawyers and insurance executives, and felt something shift inside me. My grandmother had come here. She had prepared for this. She had named me specifically because she knew what Ashley would try to do. She spent the last year of her life building a fortress around this policy, and she made sure I would be the one to defend it. I looked down at the forms with Ashley's signature. 7 attempts, 3 years, systematic fraud. My sister threw this policy in the trash because she thought she had already won. She thought her forgery attempts had succeeded. She thought our grandmother's money was already hers. She had no idea the real fight was just beginning. I was still sitting in that conference room when the full weight of it hit me. Richardson and the attorney had stepped out to make more phone calls, leaving me alone with Claire Donovan and a table covered in documents that proved my sister was a criminal. My hands were shaking. I did not notice until I reached for the glass of water in front of me and watched the surface tremble. I had been so focused on the information that I forgot to feel it. Now it was hitting me all at once. $1.8 million. 7 forged beneficiary changes. My mother's signature on 3 of them. My family had been trying to rob my grandmother while she was still alive. Claire sat quietly across the table, giving me space. She did not push, did not rush me, just waited with the patience of someone who had seen this kind of devastation before. I know this is a lot to take in, she said finally. Most people who come in here are dealing with grief. You are dealing with grief and betrayal at the same time. I looked up at her. How long have you known? About the fraud attempts? We flagged the first suspicious form about 3 years ago, but without a filed claim there was little we could do except reject the requests and document everything. She paused. Your grandmother knew we were documenting. She asked us to. She called after every rejected form and confirmed that we were keeping records. She was building a case, Miss Lawson, and she wanted you to be the one to use it. My grandmother spent 3 years watching her own family try to steal from her, and she never said a word to me. She just prepared. I did not know whether to be grateful or heartbroken. Let me walk you through what we know, Claire said. She pulled out a timeline document and spread it across the table. 3 years ago, we received the first request to change the beneficiary from you to Ashley Lawson. The form included what appeared to be Margaret's signature, but our verification system flagged inconsistencies. What kind of inconsistencies? The slant was wrong. The pressure was different. Small things that most people would not notice, but our software is designed to catch them. She pointed to a section of the timeline. We sent a letter to Margaret directly, asking her to confirm the change in person or via notarized document. She called us the next day. She was very clear. She had not authorized any change. Claire traced her finger along the timeline. She asked us to reject the request and flag her account for additional scrutiny. She told us she suspected someone in her family was trying to steal from her, and she wanted every attempt documented. I looked at the dates on the timeline. 7 attempts spread across 3 years. First year, Claire continued, 2 attempts, both rejected. Second year, 3 attempts, increasingly sophisticated forgeries. Third year, 2 more attempts, including one with a forged notary stamp. A forged notary stamp? Claire nodded, her expression darkening. The notary's name was Gerald Vance. When we contacted him, he said he had notarized documents for a young woman matching Ashley's description. But he never actually witnessed Margaret signing anything. He was told the elderly woman could not travel. She paused to let that sink in. He notarized based on copies and verbal assurances, which is illegal. He has since had his license revoked. Your sister did not just forge signatures, Miss Lawson. She corrupted other people into her scheme. I felt sick. My sister had not just tried to steal. She had built a system. She had lied to professionals, broken laws, dragged innocent people into her crimes. And my mother had helped. Your mother's signature appears as a witness on 3 of the 7 forms, Claire said, as if reading my mind. We cannot determine if she knew the signatures were forged, but her participation raises questions. I stared at the documents. My mother stood next to my sister and watched her forge my grandmother's name. Either she knew and helped, or she did not look closely enough to notice. I was not sure which was worse. The door opened and the company attorney returned. Patricia Wells, she introduced herself, sitting down beside Claire. Miss Lawson, I need to explain what happens next from a legal perspective. She opened her own folder, All Business. What your sister attempted constitutes insurance fraud under Ohio law. It is a felony. The forged signatures and falsified notarization add multiple forgery charges. If your grandmother had died before she locked the policy, and Ashley had successfully claimed the money, we would be looking at theft of nearly $2 million. She let that number hang in the air. As it stands, she is looking at attempted fraud, multiple counts of forgery, and potentially elder financial abuse. Elder financial abuse. The words made my stomach turn. My sister had tried to steal from an 82-year-old woman, her own grandmother. Midwest Mutual has a legal obligation to report suspected insurance fraud to the Ohio Department of Insurance, Patricia continued. From there, it typically moves to the county prosecutor's office. We will be cooperating fully with any investigation. She looked at me directly. You are not required to do anything. The company will file its report regardless. But if you choose to provide a statement or cooperate with investigators, it would strengthen the case. This is your decision. Take time to think about it. I nodded slowly, overwhelmed. She was asking me to help send my sister to prison. A week ago, that thought would have seemed impossible. Now, sitting in this room, looking at those forged signatures, it felt like the only option. I left the insurance office just after noon. 2 hours had passed since I walked in. It felt like 2 years. The sun was bright, too bright, and I squinted against it as I pushed through the doors and walked toward my car. I felt like I was emerging from underground, from some dark place where terrible secrets lived. I sat in the driver's seat but did not start the engine. Just sat there, breathing. I had come here hoping the policy was not expired. I left knowing I was a millionaire and my sister was a criminal. Neither of those things felt real yet. I looked at my phone. 17 missed calls from Ashley, 9 from Karen. I did not listen to any of the voicemails, not yet. I was not ready. But there was one call I needed to make. Harold Brennan's face flashed in my mind. The way he found me at the funeral. The way he said my grandmother had trusted me with this. He knew something. He had to know something. My grandmother had a lawyer for 12 years. He did not just deliver an envelope. I found his business card in my bag. Simple white card, black text. Harold Brennan, attorney at law, estate planning and elder law. Small office address in Lakewood. I dialed before I could overthink it. He answered on the second ring. Miss Lawson, I was wondering when you would call. You knew, didn't you? About the insurance policy. About what Ashley was doing. There was a pause on the line. Then his voice, careful but warm. I know many things, Miss Lawson. Your grandmother made sure of that. Can you explain? Can you tell me what is going on? Another pause. Can you come to my office? There is more you need to see. I was not supposed to reveal everything until certain conditions were met. But I think those conditions have been met now. How soon can you be here? 15 minutes. I will have tea ready. Harold Brennan's office was in a converted Victorian house in Lakewood, just 15 minutes from the insurance company. I parked on the street and walked up creaky wooden steps to a door with a brass nameplate. Harold Brennan, attorney at law. By appointment only. I rang the bell. Harold opened the door himself. No receptionist, no staff visible, just an old man in a cardigan, glasses perched on his nose, looking at me with eyes that held more knowledge than I could imagine. Come in, come in. I made tea. Your grandmother always preferred tea. The office inside was organized chaos. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves stuffed with law books and files, stacks of papers on every surface, an old wooden desk buried under documents. It smelled like leather and old paper and something that might have been pipe tobacco from decades past. He gestured to a worn leather chair across from his desk. I sat down and accepted the tea he offered. Chamomile, my grandmother's favorite. You knew my grandmother well. 12 years. He settled into his own chair, cradling his cup. She came to me when she first suspected something was wrong. Most of my clients want to protect their assets from nursing homes or taxes. Margaret wanted to protect hers from her own family. I took a sip of tea, letting the warmth steady me. I have been practicing elder law for 35 years, Miss Lawson. I have seen families tear themselves apart over money, seen children steal from dying parents, seen spouses empty accounts while their partners lay in hospital beds. He shook his head slowly. Your grandmother was different. She did not want revenge. She wanted justice, and she wanted to protect you. Why me? Why not just cut Ashley out and forget about it? Harold set down his teacup. Because your grandmother believed that truth matters more than peace. She could have changed her will quietly, left everything to charity, avoided the whole mess. He looked at me with something like admiration. But she said something to me once that I have never forgotten. She said, Ashley needs to face what she has done, not for punishment, for her soul. He smiled sadly. Your grandmother was a bookkeeper, Miss Lawson, but she thought like a philosopher. He opened a drawer in his desk and pulled out a thick folder, set it on the desk between us. The label on the front read, Margaret Lawson, Comprehensive Estate Plan. The insurance policy was just the beginning, Miss Lawson. He opened the folder. Your grandmother came to me 5 years ago when she first discovered Ashley's activities. Over the next 5 years, we built a complete protection plan. He began listing items, pointing to documents as he spoke. The insurance policy, which you now know about, but also a living trust, a protected savings account, instructions for her house, and a safety deposit box. Everything your grandmother owned, except for a few personal items, was placed in a revocable living trust. You are the sole trustee and sole beneficiary. Ashley and Karen are specifically excluded, with documentation explaining why. He pulled out another document. The house, the savings account, any remaining assets, all yours. I stared at the papers, trying to process. There is more, he continued. Separate from the insurance policy, Margaret maintained a savings account at First National Bank. Current balance, approximately $240,000. $240,000, on top of the $1.8 million. Ashley tried to access this account as well. She was rejected because she was not an authorized signer. Your grandmother added you as a joint account holder 3 years ago. You may not have noticed. She said she did not want to worry you. I did not notice. I never looked at any joint accounts. I did not know I had any. Harold reached into the folder again and pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a brass key, old but well-maintained. This is the key to your grandmother's safety deposit box at First National Bank. She told me to give it to you only after you understood the full scope of what Ashley had done. He placed the key in my palm. It was small, warm from being in the envelope, in the drawer, waiting for this moment. She said, whatever is inside will answer your last question. What question? Harold looked at me steadily. The question of whether this was really about money, or whether it was about something much older, something that started before you were born. I stood up, the key clutched in my hand, my mind spinning. Miss Lawson, before you go to the bank, I want you to understand something. I paused at the door. Your grandmother loved her family. All of her family, even the ones who betrayed her. What she did, the planning, the documentation, the locks and safeguards. It was not revenge. He rose from his chair and walked toward me. It was the only way she knew to tell the truth when no one would listen. I drove toward First National Bank with the key in my pocket and a folder full of documents on the seat beside me. My grandmother was 82 years old. She lived alone in a small house. Everyone thought she was just a sweet old lady who clipped coupons and watched game shows. But she had spent the last 5 years of her life preparing for a war she knew she would not live to fight. My phone buzzed, a voicemail notification from Ashley. I pressed play. "Brittany, I know you went to the insurance company. I do not know what they told you, but they are lying. They have always had issues with our family. Call me back. We can fix this together." I deleted the message without responding. My sister still thought this was something she could talk her way out of. She had no idea what grandmother had left in that box. Neither did I. But I was about to find out. First National Bank was the kind of place where people whispered and wore suits. The main branch sat in downtown Cleveland, all marble floors and brass fixtures and high ceilings that made you feel small. Old money architecture. The kind of building designed to make you trust that whatever you put inside would be safe forever. I parked in the garage and walked through the lobby with the key in my pocket, feeling its weight with every step. Small brass key, warm against my thigh. Harold's words echoing in my head. Something much older. Something that started before you were born. I did not know what I was about to find. Part of me was not sure I wanted to know. The customer service area was staffed by a woman in her 50s with reading glasses on a chain around her neck. Her nameplate said, "Dorothy. I need to access a safety deposit box. I have the key and documentation." She examined my driver's license, the key, the papers Harold had provided. Then she typed something into her computer and paused, looking at the screen with recognition. Margaret Lawson's box. She was a lovely woman. We were sorry to hear she passed. You knew her? She came in every few months, always so organized, always so deliberate, like she was checking on something important. Dorothy led me through a heavy door and down a corridor lined with brass-fronted boxes stacked floor to ceiling. The air was cool, climate-controlled, smelling faintly of metal and old paper. "Number 247. I will give you privacy." She unlocked the outer door with the bank's key, and I inserted mine. The box slid out, heavier than I expected. Dorothy left me alone in a small private viewing room with harsh overhead light and a single table. I set the metal box down and sat there for a moment, hands resting on the cool surface. My grandmother had kept this box for decades. Whatever was inside, she wanted me to find it. She had planned for this moment, prepared for it, left instructions that would lead me here only after I understood what Ashley had done. I took a breath and opened the lid. It was not what I expected. No stacks of cash, no jewelry, no gold coins. Instead, I found documents, photographs, letters, a small leather journal with a worn cover. Everything was organized in labeled folders, color-coded, tabbed, dated. Even in death, my grandmother was a bookkeeper. I did a quick inventory. Folder 1, birth certificates and legal documents. Folder 2, financial records, historical. Folder 3, correspondence, private. Folder 4, for Brittany, read first. There was also a large manila envelope labeled, "The Truth About This Family." And at the bottom, a stack of old photographs held together with a rubber band. I picked up the photographs first. Black and white, some color but faded with age. People I did not recognize standing in front of houses and cars from another era. But one photo caught my eye and made me stop breathing. A young woman, maybe in her 20s, with dark hair and a sharp smile. She was looking at the camera with an expression I knew intimately. Confident, calculating. Like she was already 3 steps ahead of whoever was looking at her. She looked exactly like Ashley. Same smile, same posture, same eyes. I turned the photo over. Written on the back in faded ink, Lorraine, 1962. I did not know anyone named Lorraine, but whoever she was, my sister could have been her twin. I set the photographs aside and reached for the folder marked, "For Brittany, read first." Inside was a handwritten letter, several pages, my grandmother's careful script filling each line. The date at the top was 8 months before her death. "My dearest Brittany," it began. "If you are reading this, then the truth has finally found its moment. I have spent the last 5 years preparing for this day. I have watched, documented, and waited. I know you must have questions. Why did I choose you? Why did I not just confront Ashley? Why did I let this happen? The answers are not simple. But you deserve to know everything. What I am about to tell you goes back 40 years, long before you were born." I kept reading, my grandmother's voice in my head as clear as if she were sitting beside me. "Your family has a history of secrets, Brittany. Secrets that shaped who we all became. I am going to tell you about Lorraine, your mother's sister, the one no one ever mentions. And I am going to tell you why Ashley is the way she is. It is not an excuse. But it is an explanation. Sometimes understanding the past is the only way to survive the present. I could have simply changed my will and died in peace. But that would not have been fair to you. You would have received the money without